The DC Universe might not be doing so well with full-length movies. We're looking at you, Justice League. Not sure if anyone is going to get over that anytime soon, but when it comes to TV series, DC has a pretty rich universe. The studio's superhero show Titans came out back in 2018. Since then, has managed to grab quite the audience, with 3 seasons filled with meaningful passcodes, comic book references, and clever name-dropping. Here are all the Easter eggs you might have missed on the show. Let's dive into Titans Season 1 Easter eggs. The pilot season for the superhero series served as the long-awaited live-action debut of some of the most famous characters from DC Comics, after the likes of Superman and Batman, of course. Titans picked out its heroes from the famous animated series Teen Titans Go, but added an R-rated twist to their stories. And while we're sure you probably binged the first season as soon as it came out, here are a few Easter eggs you might have missed along the way. If not, well, then a trip down memory lane is always fun. Raven's peculiar necklace. Back in the first episode, we didn't meet Raven straight away. Instead, we met Rachel, who had yet to transform into the dark hooded hero. The character looked nothing like her comic book version. However, you might not have noticed there was one accessory that was straight out of the books, the red jewel in her necklace. That's the same red jewel that her comic book version has on her forehead, kind of like a trademark. And if you noticed, her hoodie had a peak similar to her caped suit in the comics. It was a smart little Easter egg for all the fans who had been following her character in the DC Universe. It was also sort of foreshadowing for her transformation into the Raven we are all familiar with. Starfire's party dress. Fans of Teen Titans know Starfire for her naive charm and her purple costume. In the real-life series, we saw her wearing an electric purple party dress throughout the first episode of the pilot season. After waking up next to a dead man in a crashed car, it was understandable that she didn't get the time to change out of her clothes. But the real reason for keeping her in the same outfit was a hint to what would become her super suit in the show later on. It was actually building on her classic comic book costume, the name-dropping contact list. The series did not hold back on little Easter eggs, even in the first few episodes of the season. When Dick Grayson pulls out his cell phone and scrolls through his contact list in the second episode, Hawk and Dove, there's a bunch of comic book connections and even cheeky behind-the-scenes references. We saw the name Brendan Stacy, who actually was the cinematographer for episode 5 of the series. Another off-camera name that popped up was Camille, the production manager of Titans Season 1. We also saw Grayson scrolling through the name Donna Troy, who comic fans would know as the original Wonder Girl. The more obvious name in his contact list was Bruce Wayne, obviously. You couldn't have missed that one. Signs of the looming devil. All through the first episode, signs of Christianity and religion kept coming up during Rachel's Raven's scenes. You probably can make out a few crucifixes around her if you go back and watch some of the episodes. It was clearly an attempt to curb her powers. The anti-demonic theme was in fact a nod to Raven's paternal roots. In the comics, her father is Trigon, one of the biggest devil-like villains of the DC Universe. Easter eggs in Titans Season 2. Looking at all the Easter eggs in Season 1, it's obvious that the Titans showrunners really love tucking hidden details in between episodes. Let's take a look at the clever references you might have missed in Season 2. The possessed Titans paying a tribute to a classic comic book. The Titans look pretty damning with the dark splotching around their eyes when they were under Trigon's control. During that episode, there was a moment that practically mirrored a famous comic book cover from the 1985's New Teen Titans #4. Just before Rachel took down her devilish father, we saw the rest of her possessed team standing in a row with their not-so-heroic eyes, just like in the cover of the comic. However, there were some differences from the book version. The heroes, for example, weren't all the same. The cover featured Beast Boy, Kid Flash, and Cyborg. Other than that, the comic heroes didn't have the inky black look around their eyes. Instead, it was their eyes that turned red in color. The differences, however, do not overshadow the obvious inspiration. Slade's tea spills a lot about him. The showrunners hinted at the mercenaries' complicated history by something as simple as tea, but it was such a brief moment that anyone could have missed it. Remember his trip down to the country store shop? Right after we met Slade's character in his cottage, the shopkeeper specifically mentioned a foreign tea which he had to go online to find. Slade's request for the Chinese chrysanthemum tea was a nod to all the time he had spent in Asia as a contract killer, just like his comic book counterpart. Beast Boy's clothes reflect his powers. Gar, aka Beast Boy, didn't really get a piece of action in the beginning of Season 2, but what he did get was an interesting wardrobe. In the second episode, Rose, we saw him wearing a really green, almost Hulk-like shirt with the word meow printed across the front. While you probably passed it off as a millennial thing, it was so much more than that. In fact, it was hinting at his shape-shifting abilities, and at that time the most he could transform into was a tiger. Rose helps Robin with his upgrade. In the comics, Dick Grayson eventually decides to put his Boy Wonder days behind him and retires his Robin costume. He goes from Robin to Nightwing. The Season 2 finale finale set the floor for that transformation. Following the escape of Dr. Light and his frustrating argument with fellow Titans, Grayson decides to blow off some steam in the sparring room when Rose shows up, taunting him into sparring with her instead. Their little duel leaves his staff into two pieces, but instead of tossing it aside, Dick starts wielding the broken pieces like batons. Interestingly, Nightwing's choice of weapon is a pair of Eskrima sticks with concealed shock batons. Themyscira Mascara is no joke. During one of his conversations with Donna, Aqualad teases her about her homeland that could pass off as a tongue twister, Themyscira, land of the Amazons, including our very own Wonder Woman. When she brings up she'll be headed back home, Aqualad, aka Garth, jokingly says, "You mean the mascara?" Whether this boy knows it or not, Themyscira Mascara is no joke. Back in 2011, MAC Cosmetics launched a line of Wonder Woman-themed products, which included Obey Me nail polish, Athena's Kiss lip gloss, and of course, Themyscira Mascara. Titans Season 3 Easter eggs. If you're a fan of the comics, then Season 3 had to be your favorite. The recent season chose the Under the Red Hood plot from the comics to draw from and hid away some really neat Easter eggs for us to find. Here are some hidden details you might have missed the first time around. Harley Quinn in Titans. When Dick ventures into the Batcave for the first time, we're sure you were overjoyed to recognize a ton of comic book references, including the ever-present holograms of a T-Rex and a giant coin. But there were some items not as obvious as the floating dinosaur, like Harley Quinn's signature mallet, for example. While the Clown Prince of Crime might be dead, there are always chances of his better, equally crazy half making an appearance in the Titans. Who knows? Maybe we'll see her out for her Puddin's vengeance, meaningful passwords, and ex-lovers. Who knew Batman, of all the people, made passwords out of his failed love conquests? During Season 3, when Beast Boy is trying to hack into Wayne Manor's security grid, he gets a little stuck with an unusual security question. What is the name of the one who got away? After several attempts, he manages to crack it thanks to Tim Drake. The answer? Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. It's unlikely that her character will physically make an appearance on the show. This little detail was more of a fun nod to Batman's mythos. It's raining Robins. Dick Grayson might be ready to say goodbye to Robin, but that doesn't mean the character of Robin is going anywhere. While sifting through Wayne's files, Grayson comes across a collection of kids. Turns out, according to Bruce, they're all potential candidates for the role of Robin. You'll find the Easter eggs in the names of the recruits. Carrie Kelly, for example, picks up Robin's mantle during the Dark Knight Returns storyline. Other names that might ring a bell for the comic book fans include Daxton Chill, Stephanie Brown, and Duke Thomas, all of whom joined the Bat family during different comics. That wraps up our video for today, folks. Did we leave out any Easter eggs from the show? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.